Navasky Anderson setting a new national record in the 800 meters. That's a headline, right? Is it? Okay. So the men's 4x1, they're not going to make it through to the final. The women, they're through. And both teams in the 4x4s, they're also through. All this to speak about, we're talking about the highs and the lows at the World Championships in Tokyo here on the Sports Club podcast at the Jamaica Observer. It starts right now. What an eventful day. We are cheering on Navasky Anderson. No, he didn't win a medal. He actually came 7th in the 800-meter final. So as far as the other news items are concerned, it was disappointment for the men's 4x1. The women, though, are through and here to discuss all the happenings on this day in Tokyo. Leighton Levy is with me. Leighton.
Yeah, good day, good and bad day. I mean, mixed fortune day.
Definitely wasn't amazing.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't amazing. But I think for me personally, Navasky's performance kind of took the edge off of disappointment for the men's 4x1. First Jamaican below 143. The national record broken twice in the last 2 days. The national record broken 3 times in the last 3 weeks. Jamaica is now officially on the map for the men's 800. And I mean, what better way to end a day that started out badly for Jamaica. Of course, the women are in. I think Jamaica has an opportunity for 2 medals on its final day tomorrow. Let's hope nothing else goes wrong.
Let's hope. Shoshana McGowan is also here with me, Trish. Let's hope nothing else goes wrong, right?
Oh my gosh, we'll just all implode. Navasky Anderson, I think, himself and Tyrese Taylor, they already made my day just by qualifying and their performances, and now 2 national records for Navasky. It's just tremendous how far we're coming from in the event to having a first time, finalist in the event. All these years of hearing about, previous people who would have ran the event, but not getting to a world championship final. And here he is. He did it in fine style. And I think I liked how he ran the event. He tried to finish at least in the top 5 or top 6. It didn't happen, but you saw the effort, and that's what I like to see. I like to see the effort. But a national record, and he made that event for us, looked almost like, he finished 7th, and we were raving like he's a winner, and that's what I love about the 800 for him.
Yeah, and we're always pleased with effort, right? So to Daniel Blake in particular. Daniel.
I think we have to give Navasky a lot of credit because he has a lot of heart. He said after the race that today he might lose, tomorrow he might lose, but one day he'll be a champion. And that's the type of confidence that you need to be in June running 144, 145, to come down to break the national record twice, and to have, a time that will now be in the top 30, top 40 in history. For a Jamaican man, that's amazing. So I think today was a decent day. I wouldn't say a good day because obviously the men's 4x1s, we had some disappointments in the men's discus throw as well.
That's shocking.
But we still have a great opportunity to add to the medal count with our women's 4x1s and or both 4x4 teams. So I'm looking forward to that final day.
You know who we're also looking forward to? Andre Lowe. He's in Tokyo, and he's joining us now in studio. Andre, we got to start out with Navasky Anderson, what he did in the 800-meter final, a new national record. Again, he's fast becoming a favorite of mine personally. Talk to me about that race.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing run. What an amazing event. Navasky is not just becoming your favorite, he's becoming a lot of person's favorite. And not just because of the times and the effort, but it's also the attitude. He's a supremely confident young man. From the very first conversation we had here in Tokyo, he made it clear, I'm going to make that final. I'm going to be the first Jamaican man to make that final, and I'm going to medal. Of course, didn't medal, and it would be difficult. Wanyoni and these guys are just at a different level right now. But to come here, being the first Jamaican man in a 800 meters final, and to be the first Jamaican man to go sub 143. Amazing. He was brave. He took the initiative. He said after the race rather, that he didn't want to come here and stare on the back and wonder what if. He wanted to ensure that at the end of the race, he could say quite clearly and quite comfortably and quite honestly that Navasky Anderson gave his best, and he thinks he did his best, and we believe him. And just to think, it's less than a year since he actually joined up with the Under Armour group over there in the States. I don't remember where they're based, but I spoke to his coach today. He's amazed by the progress he has shown in the few months that they have been together, Coach Tom. And he's really excited about what the future holds for Navasky. His attitude is right, he says. He has a lot of natural ability. And, he believes that with their continued working together, we'll see a tremendous jump in quality.
Yeah, and of course, we have to speak about what took place in the men's sprint relay, right? Disappointment for Jamaica, unable to complete that final changeover. Have you heard exactly what took place there?
Boy, Donald, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. No idea what happened there. Certainly disappointing for the fans, I'm sure for the guys as well. Honestly, I do think they put a lot of effort into, getting ready for this championship. Every training session I've been to since I've been in Tokyo, they were doing baton exchanges, right? Different combinations. I've seen oblique passing to Golson. I think I've actually seen him passing to Rhyme as well in training. So, I mean, who knows what happened, right? I don't think it's only one thing. A combination of errors, probably. You could say maybe Kishane went off a little bit too early, because it seems to me the exchange zone was right there based on a few photos that I've seen. You could also say perhaps Ford could have done better to ensure the stick was in Kishane's hand before he actually released it. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, they are as disappointed and even more disappointed than we are. That is certainly a medal or a team that would have medaled, I think, all things being equal. A very strong team put out there. So, big disappointment. And I don't know what we're going to do about this men's 4x1. Bad fountain. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah. But yeah, very disappointing all around. And certainly a team or a medal we would have budgeted for.
Yeah, and of course we do have other relays to look forward to, the finals tomorrow on the final day.
Yeah, well, I mean, except for the men's 4x4, it kind of gave us a heart attack, for a little while there. The women in the 4x1, 4x4, they progressed quite comfortably, as expected. The men, they weren't overly concerned. They didn't seem overly concerned about the nature, the way in which they got in as the second fastest losers. They're saying, listen, the important thing is to get a lane in the final, and we'll see what happens when we get there, right? They will certainly be adding Rashid McDonald. Not sure what kind of condition Antonio Watson is in, or if he'd be added to the team, but they have a little more to give, and they're certainly looking to give a little more in that final. Interesting to see what's going to happen with that USA versus Kenya runoff. No USA in that final would certainly make the Jamaicans a little more confident of their chances to get on the podium. 4x1 women, easy, very efficient, good baton exchanges right around. 3 of those girls, of course, would have been members of the MVP track club, very familiar with each other. Of course, Sharika Jackson to be added, Shelly and Fraser Price to be added. That's a team that's going to be pushing for a gold medal. The 4x4 girls also did very, very well. Oakley, very strong on the first leg, and of course, Ronisha McGregor finally got a chance to step in as well, and so they did very well for themselves to qualify. Looked pretty good. Not sure who might be added to that squad. Gonna be tough because I think the USA is comfortably above everybody else, especially when they add Sydney and the others. But it's gonna be a battle, I think, between Jamaica and the Netherlands, who will be of course, adding Femke Ball to this squad as well. But I think we do have a chance in all relays, but very strong chance in at least 2 of those.
All right, Andre, thanks again for linking up. We're looking forward to our final link up on the final day tomorrow. All the best, brother.
Yeah, man, no worries. No problem. Talk to you tomorrow. Same time, Hopefully not the same place, but yeah. See you tomorrow.
All right, that's Andre Lower, man on location there in Tokyo. We got to start with the elephant in the room, right? The men's 4x1 and what exactly took place in that race. I got the feeling that there was this nervous energy, and I could see it on the faces of our athletes prior the race. Leighton, what were your thoughts heading into this race? Because obviously you would consider the Jamaicans one of the favorites for qualifying, and of course, if they got to the final, would have been one of the favorites in the final. But what happened?
All right, let me couch it like this. Last night I was thinking about the potential lineup and thinking about what could happen. And whenever I get butterflies in my stomach, I always feel like something is going to go wrong. Since Usain Bolt retired, Jamaica has had a nightmare with the men's 4x1. I don't know why. I can probably surmise that has something to do with a lack of leadership on the team. But when this team took off today, the first exchange went pretty okay between Akeem Blake and Oblique Seville.
It was conservative, though.
Yeah, it was conservative, but it's best to be conservative, especially when you're trying to get to a final. The second exchange started with a bit of an issue between the handoff between Oblique and Raheem Ford. And from there on, I literally, people say you feel like your head raised.
My head been hurting.
I literally felt that.
The same way.
So when he came around to hand the stick off, and then I saw there was a big, massive madness because the French team was coming on the outside. Kishane stepped out into the French lane. Raheem Ford seemed to adjust to try to get himself in alignment with the stick.
Yes.
And then, based on an image that I subsequently saw, appears as if he released the stick before Kishane got a hold of the stick. That's one of the most cardinal rules in relay holding. You don't release the stick until the outgoing runner has a grip on it. I don't know what happened because all I saw was an image. The image might give you a false impression of what took place. But it's disappointing because on paper, this team was possibly a gold medal winning team.
Mm-hmm.
And but something has gone wrong with our relay running, especially among the men in the last 7 or 8 years. We saw it at the World Relays this year, albeit in the final, the second round, it was an injury to Julian Ford that prevented that. But the first round was a complete mess up between Ford and Blake. Now we see a situation where it's happening again on a similar leg, the second handover. So either something is not going right in how they practice, or it's something that's mystical. I don't know, because it seems unreal that a team like this, all they had to do is get the stick around, because you didn't have to take on any unnecessary risks, and you'll be in the final. So it's disappointing, very, very disappointing to me. And I realized that Kishane Thompson had never had an opportunity, except for London, to actually finish a relay for Jamaica. It's kind of bizarre.
Trish, I mean, I don't know how to sum it up, but probably can guide us through as to what you think went wrong with the changeovers, because I thought all of them were shaky. But the point is that the others, they occurred, right? The baton was going around until that final exchange where it just fell apart for Jamaica.
Yeah. I think when you look at 4x1s, and let us stick to our team Jamaica over the last couple of decades, including that of Usain Bolt and others. No, I think Michael Frater, I'm happy that he's there and he's a part of that 4x1 coaching staff. He said it in the interview prior. We have the leg speed. He did state that, but there's no chemistry.
Yeah.
No, when you look at the glorious team of Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, both trained with Glenn Mills at Racers Track Club, Nesta Carter,
MVP.
Asafa Powell, Michael Frater,
MVP.
When you slotted in others when needs be, oftentimes they are not the ones running the final, they were running the heats. And for how long they had success, records, etc. So again, like I said, Nesta Carter would have started. He would turn over to Michael Frater. Both those men were even roommates at one point while competing. Then that baton would go to Usain Bolt if he would run the third leg, or Johan Blake. and then the change of her to Asafa, and Asafa chemistry, and you seeing they're cool teammates. They're really good to each other. So whenever chemistry is missing, in previous years, we saw whenever our women before now, whether it be with Karen Stewart and Sharon Simpson, that mishap that happened. It's not the first time we're in this predicament. So for me, it's not about our leg speed, because everybody know we're fast.
Yeah.
But you need chemistry. So what the chemistry does, I trust you. So I know that you won't leave me, because remember, you a lot is happening in the atmosphere, and it was a tough heat. So you have to trust that, okay, when I move out, Raheem is going to catch me, or if he doesn't move out fast enough, the exchange will still be made. I have to hold up my hand. When him hold up him hand, I have to make sure him get the stick. So I think a lot of the error, sadly, on a lot of the blame for this one, Ford will have to shoulder it, unfortunately. Even though it's a team, it was a team effort. But you cannot, the rule of the 4x1 says the incoming runner with the baton, you must place the baton in the hand. And until that athlete, outgoing runner, have that baton, you cannot let it go. And that's just the unfortunate part. He didn't intentionally do it. It happened. We're sorry that it happened. But it's just the reality of what it is. That's your only responsibility as the incoming runner. It don't matter what happened. You cannot shoulder and say, oh, he ran out too fast. All the baton, that baton fell. Why did the baton fell? Because you released it. You let it go. When Kishane did not hold, he has to grip it. You have to feel him pulling it away from you. When you're running in high school, prep school, they're told that hold the button. If you not hold it, she not hold it, you cannot release the baton.
Yeah. And Trishana has a point there. You see that chemistry is key. If you go back to that team regardless of whether it's Michael Fritz or Nesta Carter or Johan Blake or whoever came in, there was that understanding between those gentlemen that brought that team to 3 world records, including the existing world record of 36.84. It was not just a leg speed. They had an understanding, which I don't think these current athletes have.
Yet.
Primarily because I think, again, I go back to the fact I don't think there's a leadership among them.
And I want to get Daniel in here because I want to also add to that point that you mentioned about leadership, right? And can we identify an athlete who has that aura, that command, even if they're not as vocal as a Usain Bolt would have been, right? Because take, for instance, a Michael Jordan when he was leading the Bulls. Yes, he was probably autocratic, but the point is that those under him didn't want to disappoint him. Is there a leader in that 4x1, and who could it be in the future? Because obviously, from our standpoint, from our perspective, I'm not seeing one right now.
I mean, I think this is, in my opinion, I don't think it has anything to do with a leader or chemistry. I think, like we've pointed out, I think you just need to do the very basics. I don't necessarily think that you need to have, been running together. You don't need to have a great relationship. And that's why I say you don't need. It would be helpful, but I don't think it's a need. I think that, especially in that last exchange, I thought that they went with a very sort of aggressive approach. If you look close to all the other teams had basically exchanged before Raheem said reach, right? And then you run that risk of, going over the line. And then, as we've mentioned, letting go of the baton, Kishane not really having grip of it. And then we lost. So I think it would be an advantage if there was this chemistry. But again, I think that some basics of relay running just needs to be practiced, and then we'd be okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Daniel. They were in camp in Totori, right? They were in camp in Totori, and they were running practices every day. If it was just practice alone, they would have been fine today, right? Practice is key, because how you practice is how you compete. But if there is nobody to command that kind of
trust,
focus and trust, then you're going to have problems. You see, people don't understand, I don't understand why people don't grasp the idea that in any environment that involves a team, there has to be someone who people look to.
And to add to your point, Leighton, right? Because I think how Daniel speaks about the relays, it's probably applicable at the high school level. You know, where they're stayed together and you don't need the leader at the high school level is obviously the coach. Nobody wants to disappoint the coach. At the senior level, I believe that there needs to be an alpha that takes charge of these situations. There needs to be
somebody who's said, listen, on me, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to execute. Nobody messes up because, and to the point where you mentioned earlier, like during the Usain Bolt era, they all wanted to do it for Usain. So even if that was the link, the glue, that was the thing that kept this team. Remember, do you ever remember a time during that era between 2008 and 2016 when the men dropped the button?
Nope.
Not once. Not once. There's a reason for that.
Only in the lab.
Even when the men were not at their best.
Yeah.
And remember, Usain had the double. If Johan was a part of that team, he had the double. He would have done the double as well. But I agree. I understand where Daniel is coming from when he said by doing the basic. It sounds easy in theory, but in a team sport and at a world championship or Olympic games, it just demands a little bit more. For example, we all have football teams that we love and support, for example, right? You support the team there.
Manchester United is the name of the team that Shashan is trying to say.
support the biggest, baddest team.
Yeah.
Daniel support the other red team there. And when you look at, for example, when a player goes out, whether we loan or we sell them, and our team bring in players, whether to be a forward, it takes some, things don't just link so together, you know, not even through preseason. Even though they know the basic of what to do of football, yes or no?
Yeah.
True.
But then when they start understanding each other more, do we see a different game sometimes? Yes or no? No?
You see a different game, obviously, because then there's somebody who is guiding that process.
Daniel, you're struggling to say something?
I just think we're just overcomplicating the issue.
Of what?
If we had finished 4th or 5th, then I would understand this type of conversation. But if Raheem to Kishane, if they had handed over, we'd have been in the final. The reason why is because they didn't follow basic relay rules, which we have said so far.
The entire team.
I don't think it's a matter of chemistry and.
Hold on, you don't think that the entire team looks shaky?
The entire team didn't look good?
No. What I'm saying to you is, if we had just gotten the Baton around, we'd have been in the final. So what I'm saying is to you is that we just didn't do the basics right.
No, but Daniel.
So it doesn't have anything to do with chemistry or leadership or
Daniel,
just didn't do the basics right.
So you're obviously admitting that it wasn't one mistake, right? We're agreeing that. So it's obviously more than just not following the basics. It has to do with intangibles, Daniel. That's the point we're making.
It's not the intangible. It's the tangibles, the basics of passing the button, ensuring that you do it in the right zone, making sure that you have the right grip on everything.
Daniel, do you appreciate that they've spent 9 days in tutorial practicing?
And they would have done before.
Yeah,
and they would have done the basics. And they didn't do
the basics today. That's the point.
So why didn't they do the basics?
Why they keep not doing the basics?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
That sport.
That's not.
If we even go back in football, there are sometimes when people score own goals. It just happens sometimes. It's just a bad day. I don't think it has anything to do with chemistry.
We've had several bad days, though, Daniel.
With this team, it's been several bad days. It's not just a one-off event. It's a trend now. It's a trend. It's not just a one-off event.
But even the idea of our fastest runners being on those particular legs, right? I was a little bit surprised that the exchange between Ford and the Kishane so close to the point of no return.
Yeah, but
because you'd want Kishane to run as many meters as possible, the same as Seville, who I believe actually collected the baton earlier.
Yeah. But and look, people forget, these little things, these little details that we tend to overlook. You realize in London what happened in London? We just managed to get the stick off in time.
We were this close.
It was within millimeters of being disqualified.
Out of the exchange zone.
So what I'm saying to you is that it's not just a one-off event. It's been consistently happening. And with this quartet, whoever is in this quartet, regardless of whether they practice or not, these mistakes are popping up more often than not. There's a reason behind that. And it's not because they're not practicing. It has to be more than that. It's, as you mentioned, it's the intangibles that are not happening in the way they should, and for reasons that we might not even understand. What I'm saying is that it's beyond the practice now. When I was in high school, we were running relay practices to a point where, I could close my eyes and hand off to Courtney Chambers. I know exactly where his hand would be because we had that understanding with each other that I don't see where this team has it. And it's not just because they don't practice. It's more than those. There are intangibles that are involved that makes really a team successful. And this is another example of why things are not working right for Jamaica's relay team. It's one of those mysteries that it's not really a mystery either. I think Trishana hit the nail on the head. There's a lack of chemistry. And for me, there's also a lack of leadership as well.
Let's talk about the women now because they are through to the final. They looked good. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable when I see the twins on the backstretch. So I mean, I can't remember them ever messing up in their exchanges ever.
Again, the difference. Jodine Williams said afterwards that before the race, Shelley and Fraser-Pryce came and gave them a talk and said to them, this is what you do. Go out there, believe in yourself, go and do what you can do. And you did it.
And Jodine is also not a stranger
to
being a part of the women's 4x1. Janelle Smith, who ran the anchor leg, she's a seasoned campaigner in running with the juniors. At the junior level and at Wilma's girls, Auburn as well, in the 4x1. The twin, of course, know the history of that. When you're to now take out two of those women and bring in Shelley and Fraser-Pryce and Sharika Jackson, what you'll find is, for example, in the heat, Jodine trains with Sprint Tech, but again, she's no stranger to being a part of the national team and a part of the 4x1, right? Janelle Smith, similar as well, no stranger. When you slot in Sharika Jackson, MVP Track Club, the twin MVP Track Club, Shelley and Fraser-Pryce, formerly of MVP Track Club, you have now 4 women who not just understand each other and understand the basics of the relay, right? Now things can happen where the baton can drop, things happen. However, it's rare that you will see that. Similar to like Leighton said, when we had our men in the prime, Usain Asafa, Johan Blake, etc., when did we see that baton falling?
Never. And again, and come back to the point about leadership, Shelley and Fraser-Pryce knows that, these are not really emerging, but they are not as experienced as she has been over the years. She's a leader of that team, even by default, because of who she is. And she stepped up and gave them a final pep talk. And they went out there and delivered. They ran really well from the first leg right through to the anchor leg. And that's what I'm talking about commanding. You have a commanding presence that demands excellence. And that's why the women ran as well as they ran today. So it's not just about practice. Practice is great, but there are other things that are required for you to be consistently successful, especially at the elite level.
So Daniel, the women did the basics.
Yeah, they did. and that's what they needed to do. What I should say is that they got the job done and they're in the final. I think that to be a little bit more competitive, I think we're going to need a much better second leg from Tia. I thought she was okay today, but after seeing what Terry did in the second leg for the USA and knowing that Melissa Jefferson Wooden might be the start-off leg, I think that we're going to need a great first 2 legs if we're going to contend for that gold medal.
Disabuse yourself of that notion. There is, unless the United States drops that button, there is no chance of Jamaica winning a gold medal. None. Not even close.
Sharika is not at her best.
She has
said it as well.
Yeah, Melissa Jefferson is 0.3 of a second faster than anybody else on that team.
But we have the chemistry.
Yeah, but chemistry
doesn't result into you winning. It's getting the job done effectively.
Daniel.
Or effectively enough.
Daniel.
So it seems
And I'm
we're
saying,
all
what,
over
okay,
the
so
place.
tell me why the men, Asaf and them had the success they had. Let us listen to this.
Should we just take out Bolt out of the equation?
No, we're talking about that 4x1 team that had the success. That's
All
what
right.
we're using.
All right, let me use an example. You remember that year, was it 2019, when the Madison started the relay from lane 1 for the USA?
Yes.
And they
Yeah.
destroyed Jamaica.
They did.
Yeah.
And we were
better,
shocked.
Who had better leg speed in that
Yeah.
relay?
Remember, Elaine Thompson was a part of that team.
You know why that happened? Because Tiana Madison killed the first leg, and the Jamaica was trailing forever. Shelley and Fraser Price on that anchor could not catch. What's her name? Who died?
Tory.
Toribori.
Yeah. So you see, it's understanding when you have first of all, that US team had the leg speed, but they also had an explosive first leg that pretty much took everybody else out of the equation. If Melissa Jefferson starts for the United States, it's over from the leg 1.
But the question I will ask Daniel then is, you are disagreeing with what Michael Freitas said in his interview regarding, they have been training and they do have the leg speed, but it requires more?
Yeah,
Because he said it in the interview. So you're disagreeing with Michael Freitas' statement regarding that?
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that in the men's 4x1,
Which
we
was what he
did
was
not
referring to.
do the basics right. And,
Okay.
And
Okay.
you guys explained that, and we all agree.
All right, cool.
So as much as we can go in depth about chemistry, leadership, we just didn't do the basics
I guess the
right.
conclusion is that chemistry would lead you to do the basics right.
Yeah.
You
Not
have a
necessarily.
leader.
Yeah.
You have a leader.
Not necessarily,
Not necessarily.
because if that were the case, we would always be winning gold medals.
No,
And
listen,
that's-
all right,
and
no,
that's-
No,
listen, Daniel.
no.
I don't know if you're old enough to remember Carl Lewis and that 4x1 team that the US had. You know why the US was so successful? I mean, they had the leg speed, but they had a leader in Carl Lewis who demanded excellence from that team. And that's why they set world records and they continued every single time they stepped on the track. He and Leroy Burrell and whoever else was on the team, they performed because they had a leader who demanded that from them.
You not only that, we had teams with the women previously that did not even have half the leg. Well, they had the leg speed, but not similar to what we have had now or what we have now. But the leader in our 4x1 team back then was always Aileen Bailey.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she wasn't the fastest necessarily, but she
Exactly.
was the glue.
They respected her and listened to her output. She had all her hand and put Baton in. So they knew
Just
for
how I went to
safe.
live with Veronica,
They trusted her.
where she held Veronica's hand and put the stick
Yep.
in. That's the kind of thing that I don't think the men's team have. But we're going back into that thing. But the reality is this. The US team with Melissa Jefferson, Kayla White, Tanisha Terry, and Shakari Richardson. Jamaica might be equal with them in terms of leg speed for 3 legs, right? But when it comes to Melissa Jefferson, whichever leg she's on, whoever is on that leg is dead. Right? Because she's going to have a 5-meter lead by the time the handover is happening. And there's no way recovering from that unless we have somebody who can run 10-3. And that's not happening.
Or unless they have, because again, with the 4x1, regardless of how good you are, because even with the great Usain Bolt, Asafa Powell, Johan, Nestor, Mikey, it wasn't always smooth changes. Because remember, you're going at a certain pace with turning over baton and running out. But again, you can't. The purpose of a relay is you cannot go out of your zone.
Yeah.
And you can't run without the button.
Yeah.
But they never did that.
They
didn't have that.
And the thing with the US team is that all projected the members of that 4x1 team all are of Star Athletics.
What's the sequence that you look at, Danielle, in terms of how the 4x1s, the women's team, would line up tomorrow?
From what I'm told, I think Sharika Jackson, similar to what we saw, I think
London.
it was on the London Diamond League. She'll start off to Tina, and then to Shelley. Melissa Jefferson wouldn't. She confirmed that she's going to be the lead off.
Yeah.
And
So it's Melissa and Sharika again.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's
so
it.
and I think that's why I believe the first 2 legs will be so critical. Not that I see Sharika necessarily outmatching Melissa Jefferson wouldn't, but I believe that if Tia has a very good second leg, I think that she'll be able to keep up with Terry, and then I think you give yourself a very good chance of getting that gold, because Tina was very good on the curve, and I think she can go even better. And then handing over to Shelley, Shakari is not in any amazing form. So I think if we are head to head at that stage, I see us getting gold.
All right, so here's the thing though, Daniel. Here's the flaw in your projection. In the 100-meter finals, where did Shakari finish? And what time did Shakari run?
She finished with 10:9.
4.
Yeah.
And where did Shelley finish?
6.
With 6, yeah.
In what time?
11 or something.
Almost a tenth of a second slower. So you're telling me that if...
But hold on, that was a runoff race. That was a one-off race, and
Yeah,
we know that
but-
Shelley
but-
is faster this season.
No.
She's what?
She's faster this season.
Who is faster this
At
season?
10,
Shelley.
at 10,
No, in terms of she
Yeah,
clocked a quicker time.
Yeah,
Oh.
at 10.91.
So I would use that as the base.
Okay,
as-
at
right.
10.91. But here's the difference. Since Shelley ran at 10.91, she has not gone under 11 seconds. Shakari, however, has gone under 11 seconds in the final of the 100 meters, which means that at this particular juncture of the season, Shakari Richardson is faster than Shelley and Fraser-Price. Right? So if they get the stick together or slightly ahead of Shelley, there's no way Shelley is catching her.
Isn't there an argument though that the best part of Shelley's race, the start, has been missing in recent times?
Yeah, it's been missing
and it
because-
is eliminated now that she doesn't need to put that pressure on her legs to push out of the blocks.
Yeah, she doesn't have that explosive start anymore, or the first quick 30 meters. It doesn't happen anymore. That has abandoned her, unfortunately, because of time.
Right.
You know, so she's not the athlete she was 2-3 years
No,
ago.
the point that I'm making is that there is not that stress of her having to push off the blocks. So we're talking about just leg speed alone for
Yeah,
the
but
final
her leg
leg.
speed is not what it used to be. We just saw her run in London as well, and she wasn't particularly great on the backstretch either. We keep telling ourselves that we're seeing Shelley run fantastic, but if you look at the splits, she's not the athlete that she used to be. I mean, I'm not trying to put her down. It's just that's the reality. She's not as fast as she used to be. So Shelley and Fraser-Price 3 years ago, maybe that dynamic would have worked in favor of Jamaica. No, not this year.
Daniel, you're once practical. Why are you so optimistic now?
I don't think I'm optimistic, but I think that how we execute relays is not as, the results aren't as straightforward. If that was always the case, it would just be speed. We've seen teams, lesser teams with lesser talent finish very high, and we saw it even with
Like Canada.
Yeah.
South Africa, Canada,
yeah.
all these countries over the years who don't even have sub 10 runners, yet they end up finishing
Yeah,
on
but-
the
All right.
podium.
But
What
here,
do they have though? What does Canada have? Why they have been on the podium for the men
You'd have to ask
consistently? I have to ask them?
it's cool.
You want to tell him? Why
Yeah,
Canada?
chemistry. They've been
It's the
doing this.
same
No,
four
the
men, and this
same
might be
four
their
men have been
last.
doing this for 10 years.
But
They
I'm
even
trying- I'm
said
trying-
this
I'm-
might be their last time together.
Yeah.
I am trying to remember a relay that occurred where, was it Michael Fred against Tyson Gay?
No, it was Justin Gatlin.
Michael Fred against Justin Gatlin. Never expected that gap to be eaten up as it did. And Gatlin was faster
Yeah.
than Fraser
But
at
yeah,
the time.
so here's the thing. Let me use some actual numbers from today. The US ran without Melissa Jefferson today, and they ran 41.6. Okay? What did Jamaica run?
42...
41.80.
41.80.
So
right.
they're already 0.2 of a second slower and faster than Jamaica without Melissa Jefferson. Now add Melissa Jefferson to that mix, and what happens? That gap opens by another 0.3 of a second.
But we're
That's-
adding two, aren't we?
that's-
Who we're adding? We're adding Sharika and we're adding Shelley.
Shelley, yeah.
Who's similar speed to Johnny Smith right now?
No comment.
The math, just do the math.
If we did the math, then our men's 4x1 would be in the final.
Yeah, but it never got.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it goes down to how well we execute.
All right, so Daniel,
And
Daniel, hear
we-
me.
I
Hear me
know
out.
that we are using hypotheticals.
But
then-
we're assuming that all the stick goes around from both teams. Under what circumstance, other than the USA dropping the baton, do you see Jamaica beating them?
if we execute better than them. Because back in Budapest, remember, we thought that we were guaranteed gold, and then we didn't get it.
Yeah, because why? Because what's happening today? Okay, Sharika got the ankle leg and couldn't catch back Shakari. That's what it is because Shakari was 10.65.
But we had faster runners on all our legs.
Yeah, we should have set the world record in 2021 as well with 10.61 alien.
So we
what I'm saying to
so
you,
we keep
Daniel,
using different dynamics and we're changing.
no, the dynamics are the same.
It's not.
The dynamics are the same, right? It's just that in one team, one of the intangibles was not present, and in another team, another of the intangibles was not
All right,
present.
so let's talk about the women's mile relay now because they actually won their semi-final
Yeah.
heat, and we're looking forward to seeing them medal in the final tomorrow. What were your thoughts on what they did?
I thought they did very well. I thought they ran really well, and I think they should stick with that very same team for the final. Ronisha McGregor. I mean, of course, what's her name? Dejana Oakley to Ronisha McGregor to Stacey and Williams
Yeah.
to Ronisha McGregor to Nikisha Price. That's the team for the final. And I think 322, what was it? 322.7. What was the world lead before the US eclipsed that mark in their semifinal heat? So I think the Jamaican team ran well. If they can replicate that performance tomorrow, they should be on the podium because the only other team I think can possibly challenge them is the Dutch bring in Femke Ball and Lieke Klaver, who I think ran today.
She ran today.
Yeah. So, but if we have a lead on the Dutch team going into the anchor,
Poland.
I don't see Femke Ball running down Nikisha Price like she did Stacey and Williams a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah. I think that our women surprised even themselves. You saw the look on their faces. It wasn't just about winning, crossing the line, but I think the time as a world lead for them were really shocking. Happy with the execution. I thought of all those legs, Stacey looked remarkable.
Yeah.
Lovely cut over, lovely cut in, and she floated nicely down the backstretch. And I think, Ronisha, she always finds her way to make the teams, but I think this is one of the better times she would have had in terms of her run.
And she was rusted today too as
See,
well. Because she
and
hasn't
then
run out.
Nikisha, good to see her out despite finishing 8th in the 400 meters final, which was a really hot finals, very, very quick pace. I thought she would have rested, but happy that she came back out and we were able to advance.
Yeah, I think that we have a very good chance of getting that silver medal. I think that this team did extremely well. Nikisha on that last leg, I think she did 49.64 and she had more in the tank. So it's going to be very tough to beat the USA, who are going to add Sydney, possibly Anna Cockrell.
Aliyah Butler.
Yeah, and then
That world record is gone, right?
if with Sydney, it's possible.
With Sydney, it's possible, yeah. But the thing about it, I'm concerned about Aliyah Butler's form and what's my pretty girl name? That's
Mohammed?
anchored the mixed relay.
Alexis Holmes.
Alexis Holmes.
You're
yeah.
concerned, Leighton, aren't you, Jamaican?
We watch track and field.
Yeah, I'm not solely a
In
Jamaican.
terms of rooting for them getting the world record, I get you.
Yeah. Because I think Alexis Holmes showed in the mixed relay that she's in good form.
Yeah.
I don't know if they use Aliyah Butler. They probably will, because she's 49. Even though she didn't look at these championships, but she's got a few days to rest now, so maybe she comes back out form. But the US is clearly stronger than any other teams out there on paper. I think the Dutch team, when you bring in Femke Ball, they're a different team altogether. But I think the Jamaican team overall is a stronger team, and it should end up on the podium. But I think at least with a silver medal.
Well, on the men's side, of course, they finished 4th in their semi-final.
They finished 5th, but their Australian team was disqualified, so they ended up 4th.
Right.
2:59, encouraging performance. I don't see them on the podium. I think there are too many teams that are faster right now. The Botswana team, the US team, who will beat Kenya in the runoff and then change 4 guys for the
will.
final, and they will come back to their full strength. And there's another team that I'm overlooking. But there are too many teams that are faster than Jamaica. Even if we bring in Rashid McDonald, I think we probably improve to 2:58. Everybody runs the same way they run today. But I don't think 2:58 is good enough to get you on the podium.
You agree, Trish?
I agree, it will be tough. But we have seen time and time again, sometimes with the baton in hand, for the 4x4 men, things can look up. But I don't see them on the podium. What I'm hoping for is worst place, finishing 6th. I don't want them close the gate. That's been my no. You have to be realistic where the men and the 4x4 is concerned, because when you look at the other teams and the splits of these men and who they will have to bring in, you can see where it pushed our team down a little bit. But again, hopefully once that Baton, you remember when we had him named Donkey Man?
Yeah.
What's Donkey Man's correct name?
Javon Francis.
Javon Francis. You remember that year when when he's I don't want to think it was a surprise, but when he drew down on LaShawn Merritt, and he was like, even LaShawn Merritt spoke about it, like, yo, what kind of run was that?
Yeah, it was a 43 split. Was
right,
ridiculous,
and I don't think we have that.
And even before him, of course, we're talking about Davian Clark, who just showed up for these relays.
Yeah, whenever you put a stick in Davian Clark's hand, he became Superman.
Yeah. He didn't look that way in the flat four, but you gave that man a stick.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm excited. And sometimes you find that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, something like that can happen
outside of the
tomorrow.
Herb McKinnon setup, I think that 4x4 squad was the best with Roxburgh Martin and Michael McDonald, Davian Clark,
Gregory.
and Gregory Houghton.
Houghton.
Yeah, that for me was probably just an amazing team.
Elite.
Yeah.
Daniel?
What I'm going to say might sound dumb, but if Bert
kind.
Cameron can call Christopher Taylor and say, come and run a leg for us, I think that we'll be in better contention. And I only say this because in Chris's only warm-up race, he did 45.8.
Yeah, but
right?
that was 4
And that
months
was
ago.
after not running competitively for 2 years. And we have seen Chris Taylor on 4x4s, not just in high school, but at the professional level. I think if you add Rasheen and Chris,
Antonio Watson.
I'm not so sure about Antonio because of what we saw in the heats. We don't know how fit he is
Right.
from that. But I think Chris Taylor, especially after getting that PB, we saw Tebogo come out for Botswana and had a great leg. I think if we add Rasheen and Chris, we might be able to give Belgium and maybe Great Britain some competition. I'm not going to say that we're going to finish on the podium, but I think if we do add Chris, there is a more likelihood that we will finish in that top four, top five.
I think Daniel and Leighton they have switched roles. Leighton, you're shaking your head. Why?
No, look, Chris Taylor, the last time Chris Taylor ran 45 was what, in April?
In May.
May.
Or May? How long ago was May?
A few months.
And he's
ago.
been running 200 since.
Yeah.
So has Tebogo.
Yeah, but Tebogo's a 2-4 runner. He's been a
But-
consistent 2-4 runner. He's run several 400 since here.
But what I'm saying is that I'm not expecting Chris Taylor to split 42
No,
or 43.
this is not
but
champs, though.
I think he is better than a few that we have. Apart from Javon Powell.
He could bring in
and-
Rashawn Clark as well.
You can bring in Russia and
bring
Clark.
in
That'd be a better
Rashawn
option,
Clark,
I think.
maybe, yeah.
But not Chris Taylor.
Wouldn't Rashawn be a better show than Chris Taylor, though? I mean,
he would.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if
for the first time, you're romanticizing the situation
Yeah.
that we're in. And that's not you.
That's not. This is not champs. This is the world
Real life.
championships. So Rashid McDonald and maybe Rashawn Clark comes in. Yeah, they're probably more competitive. I agree. But Chris Taylor, for all the talent that he has, is not the Chris Taylor that we're used to seeing. He's just back from a 2-year suspension. He's run 2 personal bests in the 200. But is he going to come on a relay leg and run you a 44 split? I don't see it just
If you're
now. I
not
don't
running
think,
that, you're not
because
adding to it.
Yeah, because you're not going to be... Chris hasn't run a 400 since May. That's May, June, July, August, we're in September. I don't see where he comes in now. Remember now, it's about conditioning, It's about what your body's accustomed to. He hasn't done that in a while, coming off a 2-year absence. I don't think he comes in and make a difference. I mean, I'm
But
not
what
trying...
if Daniel is made looking a genius if they bring him in and he does well?
Well, more power to them,
right?
yeah. And more power to Daniel too. But look, I've been following track and field for
Just say all your life.
a long time, more than 40 years.
Oh dear.
And one of the things that I do see is when an athlete, for example, is not running, he might have a history of the event, but when he hasn't run it in a while, your body regresses in terms of that particular discipline.
Right.
And Rashawn Clark runs the 400 meter hurdles, so he's more.
And he ran a fast time in the 400 top of the season, a PB.
Yeah, and so he's more likely to have that endurance in an event like that under pressure than a Christopher Taylor. No, maybe Christopher Taylor next year, perhaps, would be able to do that. But I don't see it happening this year.
Are we concerned, guys, about how serious we're taking relays on a whole, based on what we've seen in terms of our participation at the World Relays and now at major championships?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are many reasons for that. Relays, as I've been made to understand by several agents over the last year, that relays don't factor into getting contracts. Relays don't factor into getting bonuses. Relays don't factor into much in terms of an athlete's ability to attract sponsors.
So in other words, our national pride is just eroding like that.
What has happened, I believe, in the last 8 years or so, is that athletes are becoming more self-centered now in terms of what is it that I can use to earn more money on a contract or to attract a sponsorship, and relays don't do it anymore. As I go back again to the whole idea of leadership, when Usain Bolt was there, when Veronica Campbell was there, when
Aileen Bailey
and these guys were there, there was more of
team
a
pride.
team attitude of representing your country, of representing your flag as best as you can. And what we've seen over the past few years, especially with the fractious relationship that the athletes have with the J3s, they're not particularly keen if the J3s believe that they should win relay medals. That's up to the J3s. So their focus now is individual performance, individual accomplishments. And relays don't do much in terms of an athlete's ability to do what they want to do, which is earn more. So,
that's incredibly sad though, Leighton.
It is, but it's one of the realities that we're facing nowadays where...
That don't look like him walk.
Here's the thing.
I mean, it's bad enough if you want to defend Turkey, but like...
Jamaica doesn't pay its athletes to run relays, okay? USA does.
It's crazy that we're talking about being paid to run relays. I don't understand that.
It's a business.
But it's a business, down.
It's their job.
It's their job.
This is not entertainment.
Right, so when countries like the Netherlands and the United States and Great Britain and all these athletes interact with these athletes on the international stage, and when they're hearing that, hey, I'm getting £25,000 to run this relay, and you come back home and they say, thank you very much, good job. It doesn't work like that anymore. The dynamic of the loyalty thing, and look, I have a friend who was so upset when these athletes were transitioning to Turkey. And while initially I was upset, because we were losing some significant talent.
Yeah.
You understood.
You step back and realize that these guys are doing it for their own futures. Yeah. So when we're saying, oh, come and represent Jamaica for a relay, the athletes are not thinking like that anymore. They're thinking, when I retire, I need to be able to buy a house, to have some money to go to the supermarket, to live. And those days are gone.
Without having a GoFundMe.
I don't think it's the same thing though.
Why is it?
Can come, because I can understand if you're going to be making a career move and financial move, and you say you want to leave from Jamaica to Turkey, for example. But we're talking about preparation for an event at a global meet. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. And for you not to be able to give of yourself to that extent. You are wearing the black, green, and gold already. Mm-hmm. Why is that complicated?
No, we grow up with this mentality to sometimes, not everybody, to give more of ourselves than we receive, and oftentimes than none who give without receiving.
Yeah.
Sometimes a GoFundMe, we say I feel go around, whether I bury them, and this happens a lot with our entertainers and our athletes.
Yeah.
There's a GoFundMe, them take sick. Why? I mean, remember, each decade or whatever it is, things are always changing. The sport has changed. Our athletes are now forced to go with what has changed. If they don't, they're left behind and left to dead for hungry, long and short of it.
Yeah.
So, of course, they love representing Jamaica. They would love to be a part of relays. But when you look at the contracts from these sponsors are saying, yo, and I said it to Daniel yesterday off air, right? And I said to him, so when your agent come back, oh, Daniel Blake is a 4x1 relay gold medalist. Watch them. So, yeah. And I'm telling you, as a former athlete, a lot of times, listen, and I'm telling you, Leighton will let you know, they will laugh at you when you bring that paper to them about your athlete. You can ask some agents, they won't come on record to say because then they're likely show up them athlete. They laugh and said no.
No, we don't do
and
it.
they put you down in the pecking order,
Yeah, we
and
don't-
then they go for those who are and that's just the reality of
Yeah.
what it is. So I am now forced to focus, give all my energy to my event.
Well, what I will say, and this is to give some of the athletes some credit, is that when we look at the world relays and our previous relay medal attempts, we've sent pretty good teams when it comes to the 4x1s and the women's 4x4s. I think a lot of this is probably more down to what we've seen in the men's 4x4s, especially last year when some of the athletes had pulled out and when, they had made the changes at the national trials to run on the final day, and hearing that some of the athletes had pulled out last minute. And a lot of it is because, our quality in the 400 men aren't as good. So I think a lot of them have shifted to try and just focus on themselves because the gap in the 400 meters has widened. So whereas we used to be, okay with running 45 and maybe the occasional 44s, we're now in a stage where our men need to be running 43 on a consistent basis, which we haven't seen.
More like 44 on a consistent basis.
Yeah, so I think that it's more, I would say the issue is more with our men's 4x4s, because I think that more often than not, we have seen where our sprinters have made themselves available. Even for example, we saw Kishane Thompson fly all the way to China and not run, right? And he was a medal prospect. We saw what the ladies did and the men did in London. So it shows that there's more comfort there because they are aware of themselves and their situation. I think it's more on our men's 400, and I don't see a quick fix anytime soon.
No, I think Trisha and I think we're closer to what that reality is. I've spoken to agents. In fact, last year actually I had a direct conversation with an agent about that. Nobody cares about relay medals.
They don't, and I'm telling you.
And if an athlete is not going to get paid, remember that this is not an amateur sport anymore. It's a professional sport. That means when you perform, you get paid. This is why Grand Slam track is facing a lawsuit now for not getting paid for the athlete's performances. When they train and they go to perform, they expect reward, and somehow the J3s and they keep telling them, "Oh, we don't have the money to pay athletes to run relays," but then they sign bad contracts. The athletes. This is a consequence of that.
And when you look at also the sport overall, just my final take regarding this whole individual versus relay situation. When you look at overall track and field, the sport, we can't just sit and argue or have the discussion solely about our athletes because they earn what the sport is being able to pay out. Mm-hmm. The sport of track and field that we love, the rest of the Caribbean loves so much, is really in a huge problem. When you look at what that winner is getting at the World Championships,
$70,000.
when we look at, mind you, other sports have different setup. But Michael Johnson, in my opinion, what he wanted to do, he wasn't able to because of whatever reason. But he's aware that the sport and what the winner of these meets and the championships itself, what they're getting is joke money in comparison to tennis and the rest of the world.
Listen,
the athletes nowadays are aware of what footballers are making per week.
Exactly. Listen, what an NBA player makes per game, average track and field athlete doesn't make in a year now. Mm. Right? This is what it boils down to. So they're always trying to get as much reward for their services.
Look at the plantains.
All right. Well, we got to move on. We got to speak about what happened in the Discus because that was just disappointing on a number of levels.
I am befuddled. I don't have an explanation. This is a man who's been throwing 68 and 69 all season. Well, to be fair, Frederick has not been elite for a number of years now, for whatever reason. I mean, he's done knee surgeries. He's had other issues that have impacted his ability to deliver. Mm-hmm. Chad Wright has not been an elite thrower in the sense that he's consistently over 66 meters. He's a 63, 64 meter guy. Mm-hmm. Ralford Mullings is, for me, the biggest. I was perplexed when I saw what happened last night. A fall through, 56.82. 56.82. I can throw 56 now. This is a guy who's throwing 72 meters, 69 meters. He beat Alec in the last Diamond League meet just before the World Championships with a 69-meter throw. He said it wasn't his day. But I've heard it so often now from a number of Jamaican athletes. Jordan Scott, what's her name? Shanika Ricketts. Something did not click for a number of these athletes at this meet. I don't know what it is or why it's happening, but you don't go from being a 72-meter thrower to a 56-meter thrower overnight.
Well,
something went off for me in terms of either the preparation or the focus or something. But I am still trying. I'm hoping to give him a call sometime after the championship to get an idea of what went wrong. Because if he had thrown 65 and missed out, I could have said, okay, fine, cool.
At 50,
but 56?
I think one of the interviews he did in the mixed zone, he said that the practice rink and the competition ring was a little different. So he was saying that the practice ring was a little bit more slick, whereas the competition ring was a little slow, so he couldn't catch his rhythm. And I think that also affected Frederick because, Frederick is not even though he's had his issues, he's not just barely over 60.
Yeah, and he was just 60.2.
60, yeah, I think 60.54. So it's still a very, huge disappointment whether, the ring is different from practice or from competition, because you would think that you would even catch yourself enough to at least throw a 64, 65. But to be that off, I mean, I think with it comes experience. Maybe he will learn from it to maybe adjust a little bit faster. But yeah, it's a disappointment knowing the form that he's had.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. And I understand the explanation about the ring, because the ring is not suitable to your liking. You will have an off day. But all of these other throwers, we're throwing 67 and things. So
and you have moments, and that's why you have your coach. You have to make the adjustment quickly now.
All right, let's end on a high note. Navaski Anderson,
again
with the national record in the 800 meters. I mean,
first Jamaican under 143. Only Jamaican under 143. Jamaica's national record is now elite in the 800 meters. We're gradually finding our feet in this event. Hopefully he and Tyrese Taylor can push this to another level in the next couple of years. 1977, Seymour Newman set a national record of 145.30. And it took near 40 years to break that record. Navasky Anderson has taken it down from 145 to 144.41, I think it was. Then Tyrese Taylor took it down to 143.7. Navasky took it down to 143.72. I know he's taking it down to 142.76. People don't understand how significant that. He took almost a full second off of the record that he set in the semifinal.
Yeah.
It's fabulous, fantastic performance. And I think now he has become the standard bearer. No longer Seymour Newman, who's a good friend of mine, and it's somebody who I respect. Spent a lot of time with him when I was living in Kabla many years ago. And now Navasky Anderson is now the new standard bearer. Let that 146 pull others up to that level.
Yes.
That's...
Yeah. Well, he calls himself the people's champion.
Yeah.
And we have accepted that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yes.
I think what I love about his personality, he reminds me, the personality that a sprinter should have. He has that aura, right? Because as sprinters, they need personality. They need a little diva within them because of what the event requires.
A diva.
Diva.
Not necessarily a diva.
Right? And I think that, when his aura is just his overall disposition and love towards the event, he invites you in and make you feel a part of it. And I'm really happy that, not just the national record, but for me, his performance in the final, he gave us something initially like say, make a challenge them, man, even though we knew it would have been a tough ask for him, especially for that last 150 meters. But big performance from him and a new national record. I think, we all will be smiling about that 800 meters.
Daniel, final say?
Yeah, and I think that he should inspire not just the youngsters that we see at champs who may be grinding in an event that they don't necessarily want to do. But I think he does also motivate his compatriots, even Tyrese Taylor. We have Rodin and Kimar Farquharson.
Yeah.
A lot of them might now be thinking, whoa, Navasky do it, so we can do it too. And that will also help to increase the competition here and even push Navasky hopefully to a stage where he can get to 141 and we can challenge for the medal. So I think that it is huge for 800 meter running, and I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Can I just add this down? If you look at the quality of this field, every single runner in the final was below 143. I don't think that has ever happened before. I've seen fast races where 144 finished last. But this race, every single runner, the guy from Botswana finished in 142.77. Every single runner was under 143 and comfortably under 143. That's where the event is. And Navasky Anderson, thankfully, is part of that.
You saw the dip at the line to make sure I'm not come last?
Yep.
I'm telling you, he's a showman. You didn't see it? Rewatch it. He's a showman. And I was like, all right, I saw that. No, shot no gates.
I like the fact that that's the face of our 800 meter running on the men's side for now, and what an example for youngsters to look up to in the coming years. And yeah, pretty much standard. Guys, thank you so much again for another episode. We have one more to go for these World Championships.
Can't wait.
It's been exciting. It really has been. Thanks, Leighton.
I need to sleep.
Daniel. Sleep when you die, I suppose. I don't know. We work hard every day around here. On behalf of the hardworking production team, I'm Donald Oliver signing out. Remember, it's been powered by JN Bank. Thanks to our sponsors. It's goodbye for now.